Hello, and welcome back to my channel. I have been having a very hard time motivating myself to do much of anything this past week, so I wanted to say sorry for the irregularity of my uploads. After moping around, I found myself in need for some therapeutic art, and that is why I decided to do this piece here. When I first started considering becoming a YouTuber, my main concern was what to give you to listen to while watching me draw. The commentary has been working out well, I suppose, but I found that I sound almost monotone when I speak, and my great voice does not make up for it. One of my original thoughts on the audio was to just record the sounds of my pencil scratching the paper, as I find the sound quite relaxing. But the problem with that is that my microphone would also pick up all the other background noise, including my computer's loud whirring. It's also a problem because I like to take my time when I draw, and I'm sure watching hours of me drawing just to have the audio would not be that fun or entertaining. Despite knowing all this, I decided to try it out for a little section of this video. I have only ever had one experience relating to art therapy, and that experience was being part of a group therapy session. We were supplied with many different mediums, and after some general instruction, we were to use any medium to complete the task. I think that what I am doing in this video would be a good example task for those seeking to visualize what is going on in their head. Draw something that represents your mind and separate a few segments to represent separate thoughts. I've shared briefly about art therapy in previous videos, I'm sure, but here I will share some insight from an outside source. According to the Canadian Art Therapy Association, there are several main differences between art therapy and art class. I will now read the list of differences that they provide on their website, link provided in the description below. The first difference is the relationship. Art therapy involves therapeutic relationship. Therapists are professionally trained and follow ethical guidelines. Although art therapy usually involves making art, it is first and foremost a form of therapy. Art teachers are not trained to provide therapy and therefore has a different relationship with their students. Second, the space. Art therapy takes place in a confidential, contained space. This way, clients are able to express themselves freely and more importantly, have the option of being anonymous and have confidentiality if they so choose. Art classes do not necessarily provide confidentiality. In my experience, this does affect the way that I make my art. I have a tendency to want to keep my work private until it is finished, which is why YouTubing my drawing process is a huge step for me. A third difference is the main goal. The main goal of art therapy is self-expression. The goal is to express or communicate something, and art making is often one way of doing so. Since the goal is expression, this impacts how art supplies and artwork itself are viewed. The main goal of an art class is to learn something or to experiment with a new technique. The goal is usually to make something specific. This goal of learning and creating something specific impacts how art supplies and artwork are viewed as well. A fourth difference is how art materials are viewed and used. In art therapy, art materials are viewed as one possible tool for self-expression. The therapist is familiar with the art materials based on a continuum from controlled to less controlled. For example, a pencil is easy to control and requires fine motor skills. Watercolor, however, is much harder to control and tends to require larger movements. There is no right or wrong way to use these materials to make something. Whatever the client does in response is accepted and explored within the therapeutic relationship. In art class, however, materials are used in a specific way to accomplish the task. There are sometimes right and wrong ways to do things, and there may be rules. Often, there is a focus on the principles and elements of design. There usually is a specific expected outcome. The fifth difference is how the art product is viewed. The artwork created during art therapy is viewed as an extension or reflection of some part of the client. It can reflect thoughts or feelings about something. The emphasis is on what the artwork communicates for or about its creator, not necessarily on how it looks or whether it turns out as expected. The focus is on the process and experience of making the artwork. The process can be just as important as the finished artwork. The client decides what the artwork means to them. In art class, the focus is usually on the product. The goal is to make a specific piece of artwork. Every part of the class builds towards creating that finished product. Often, the goal is to make something visually appealing, beautiful, or interesting. Students may wish to display their creations or frame them. This is not to say that artwork created in art therapy cannot be beautiful, aesthetically pleasing, or pride-worthy. It just means that this is not the goal or the expectation during an art therapy session, while it is often the goal during an art class. The main point is that art therapy is a form of therapy, and an art class is not. This doesn't mean that an art class can't be helpful or even therapeutic. However, a specifically trained therapist must be present, and there must be some kind of formal agreement to engage in a therapeutic relationship in order for something to be considered therapy. Art therapy and art classes can both be beneficial. So, without caring too much about the outcome of my drawing, I doodled. After finishing the doodle, I wanted to add color. I did not want to color each individual section separately, and I decided that I wanted to just paint a wash over the entire thing to combine the thoughts in my head. I thought it would be interesting to have some areas of the drawing left white, and thought that marking out the white areas with a glue gun would work. I then painted over the entire sheet of paper and allowed that to dry for a few minutes. Then I wanted to peel the glue off. I realized right away that the paper underneath was peeling up with it. But I continued to just tear it all around my drawing anyway for consistency. I then used a blade attachment for my wood burning tool to melt and take away the glue so that I do not tear the drawing underneath. Now, if anyone wants to achieve this effect with a drawing not to be colored by a wash of watercolor, using a clear or white wax crayon would do just fine. I did have this knowledge when I started, but I wanted to see how well this glue method would work. And it is not worth the time, in my opinion, because you get a cleaner result with a crayon. Thanks for watching. I hope that maybe you learned something new and enjoyed the art. Come back soon for the finished Alphacorn video. Thumbs up for art therapy. Until next time, goodbye.